And welcome back, everybody, to the Podcaster Nation. That's right. I said welcome back because I know you were just listening to our stuff and you loved it so much you came back for more. I understand. And you're brilliant for doing that. Why? Because we have a lot more for you. Now, why do we have so much more for you? Because this is the podcast that's about podcasters, it's for podcasters, and it's done by podcasters. And you guessed it. You cracked the code. Our guest today is a podcaster. Man, you guys are so sharp. This is the place where we all come together, lift each other up, and this is the place where the rising tide raises all ships. Let's get sailing and introduce our guest today, founder of Hexagon Media, host of Deals with Heels podcast, where female entrepreneurs thrive. Please welcome Debra Bowers. Debra, how you doing today?
I am doing fantastic. Thank you for having me on the show.
Oh, it's absolutely my pleasure. I'm really glad that you are here, and I can't wait to hear your story. So let's just jump right into it. Tell everybody who is Debra Bowers, what are you about, and what brings you here today?
Gosh, that feels like such a loaded question, doesn't it? I am just a regular Oklahoma girl. I was born and raised in Oklahoma in a really small town. I grew up, I'm an older Gen X, right? I'm 58, will be 59 later this year. And I did all the things, right? I was an athlete. I was an excellent student. I graduated at the top of my class. I went to Oklahoma State University and got my degree and got married and started climbing the corporate ladder, right? Just like you're supposed to do. Had babies, ended up getting divorced from my college sweetheart and getting remarried and still climbing the corporate ladder. And I, when we got married, he had two kids also that were really close to ages of my two kids. And we almost immediately got full custody of his kids. Their mom was going through some troubles. And so suddenly I had four kids under the age of 7 and was
Wow.
working 60 hours a week. And so was my husband. So, like most women and moms, I sacrificed and stopped my corporate America climbing the ladder. And I always did. I was in marketing and sales, ran lots of big marketing departments, and loved it so much. I didn't care for corporate America. I'm not very good at politicking. I'm a Scorpio. I'm direct and honest. And that does not fare well in corporate America where everyone's kind of manipulative and behind the scenes. And here I am all out in the open. But I did excel in corporate America, but uh, took time off from that and worked, helped my husband with his businesses. I worked in variety of different things. The longest stint was construction. I ran my husband's construction department for a while and always doing some marketing on the side, but never really feeling like I was living my dream, so to speak, right? I sacrificed a lot of myself to raise kids. And I did a fantastic job. Don't get me wrong, there's 5 of them and they are amazing. They range in ages from 31 to 23 now.
Wow.
And I'm really proud of all of them. And I'm proud of raising them. I don't regret making sacrifices. I just don't believe that it's necessary to lose so much of yourself, which is what I did. And it became evident pretty quickly when COVID came around in 2020. My marriage fell apart, which it had been falling apart for a while,
Hmm.
but it came to head that year and ended. My kids had all left the nest. I had been taking care of my mom. My mom was diagnosed with stage 3B lung cancer in 2017, and she came and lived with me and during treatment, and she lived 5 years. I mean, I got 4 years longer than they told me I would get, and I was so blessed and lucky. And then in 2021, she passed away. So here I sat with only one person to take care of, me, and I had no idea how to do it, what I was going to do. I was overwhelmed with grief. One from the death of my mom, which was singularly the worst thing that's ever happened to me. It's like losing the one person that knows everything about you.
Yeah.
So you have to start, no matter who else is going to be my person, I have to start, right? You have to build all of that. And I had really isolated myself from my friends, and I didn't have the close relationships in my life that I really needed to get through. But so I was basically on my knees. I had a little temp job that I was doing, kind of figuring my way, and I would stop by, pick up food on the way home, and I would sit on my bed and eat it watching TV until it was time to get ready to bed. And that's what I was doing. I was super skinny, thin, very thin. I weighed a good 25 pounds less than I do now, and I look pretty well. I'm fit, but I lost all the way down to about 112 pounds or so, which isn't attractive on a 50-year-old. Let me just tell you guys that you think, whoa, thin, but that's really it's not cute. Excuse me. But the real thing was that I felt frail. And I was starting over with nothing. My ex-husband gambled our entire life savings away.
Mm.
And so I had nothing. My people were gone. And I was just a wreck, and I felt weak. And I was an athlete. I wasn't used to feeling frail. I'm used to feeling strong and capable and able to do anything that I wanted. So I got into grief counseling. And while I was in there, I figured out a lot of other stuff. But I made some non-negotiable boundaries with myself. Uh, that is really the thing. The first one was, I'm not going to eat fast food. I'm not going to eat fast food. I'm a great cook. I love to cook. I'm used to cooking for like an army or a basketball team. So it was different to, cook for just me. But that was the first one. And I'm not going to eat in my bedroom. The bedroom's good for two things, and that's all I'm going to do when I'm in there. I'm not going to be eating in there. I'm not going to be watching TV in there. I live in a big house with a nice open floor plan where I can be in the kitchen and still. And even if I'm alone, I wanted to get back to that. So those were the first few things to do. And I will tell you that in the last 5 years, I've eaten fast food a handful of times. And my granddaughter was born. We weren't sleeping. There was a Freddy's right down the street. Right? What are you going to do? But I've gone without fast food for so long that if I'm driving and I'm hungry, I don't even see them as options as a
Good for you.
restaurant. So those were the first few things that, and I've definitely honored those. And then also getting back into building my strength back up, which isn't easy to do when you're older. You don't build muscle as fast.
Right.
And I didn't want to build a bunch of fat. I didn't want to just chow on food that was bad for me. And so I started getting back into my exercise routine, which involves usually something strenuous. I played basketball. I was a point guard and played into my 30s. And so I started doing some kickboxing, which was great for letting out some deep feelings. And that was really the beginning part of my journey. And I started exploring, what do I really want to do? How do I want to affect the world? And I had a lot to do. I said, I have a lot to say and I have a lot to do. I can't do it if I feel like this.
Yeah.
So the first thing really for me was feeling more like myself and feeling well, those physical aspects. And one of the things I really learned was that your physical body, or I often say my vessel that holds me, my soul, my essence,
Yeah.
my vessel has to be able to hold my blessings, right? I can go out and fight for my goals and fight for what I want in life. But if I'm not healthy, if I'm not emotionally healthy and physically healthy, then I'm not going to be able to hold them and maintain them and keep them. And look, we see people all the time. They get their blessings and can't hold them, don't we? They get hooked on drugs, they
Yeah.
buy fast cars and have wrecks, they lose their fortune, they can't hold on to it.
Right.
So what I found was it was really important to be able to, one, physically do the work necessary for my goals, and two, be able to emotionally get in there and sustain them. So during that time, I've been meditating about 10 years, probably. I'm about 15 years into a regular meditation routine. And
Yep.
like everybody, there's a flow to it. There's weeks and months that I'm not as good, and I can definitely tell the difference when I'm not. So it's the same for me. I've been doing it a long time, but we all have those moments where we aren't as diligent as we should be. For me, it's when the weather's bad. I like to meditate outside, and if the weather's bad, I'm just like womp womp. I don't want to do it. So during that time of meditation, it just became clear that I really wanted to be back in marketing. I did not want to be in corporate America. I had no desire at all to go back and do that. And so I had some freelance clients that I had worked with for a little while. And I spoke to them, and they were very encouraging to me to start my own agency. And so that's what I did. I started Hexagon Media, and we're a boutique agency. I worked in corporate America running big marketing departments, so I can do every kind of marketing. But the real key for me is that sales aspect. I also was over sales and in sales for a lot of my time in my early career. And so I planned, we did big marketing plans, right? And then we executed them, and man, is that fun. I mean, for a marketing, people like to spend money. So it was great to be able to do that. But at the end of the month, it was my butt in the chair with the corporate comptrollers and all of the managers and all of the accountants having a very lively discussion on whether my plan worked.
Hmm.
And they all had great ideas on how to make it better, right? All the non creatives coming in to tell us how to do everything better. But that gave me a level of accountability that often is rare amongst marketing people these days, because a huge portion of them now are content creators. And content creators aren't real marketing people. They deliver it visually. They're super important. They're very important. But they don't have that strategy side of it. They don't have the same sales
Hmm.
accountability that I did. So I started that, and I work a lot with small businesses. I absolutely love it. I love to spend money efficiently and get into targeting and building in there. Then I don't know, I hadn't really had a huge desire to have a podcast my whole life. I had thought about it a few times, and I wanted to. I always felt like I had something to say, but I think like a lot of people, especially women, we want to say it, but we don't want to piss people off. We don't want to say that. Ooh, what if Becky at the school sees it? What is she going to say? We get so wrapped up in what other people are going to think. And I definitely was living in that space. Sometimes I would post something on social media and someone would have some negative comment on there. I'd delete the whole post. I don't want that kind of drama in my life. I don't want to instigate conversation on my post, right? I feel like I have to get involved in that. It was like this whole kind of anxious thing. And here I am doing attention marketing, which is kind of silly if you don't want attention on your stuff, right? So you kind of come to this point where, what am I going to do? And ultimately, I met a woman out networking. We were both networking for our businesses, and I felt a connection to her, and I'd met her, but we had never sat down and had coffee or had a one-to-one, which is a really important part of networking. It's not just going out and meeting people, handing out cards and sitting back and then waiting who's going to call me to come and talk to me and buy my
Right.
products and services. You have to actually work to build those relationships. And so she and I finally sat down and had a one-to-one, and it was like meeting an old friend that I'd known a really long time. When you meet someone like that, that you just have this instant connection with them. I'm 20 years older than her, but I just had this friend connection with her that is rare. And so I'd known her about 3 months. And I don't know. I just asked her to start a podcast with me. I don't know exactly why. We hadn't talked about starting a podcast. I just asked her one day, "Hey, you want to start a podcast?" And Unbeknownst to me, it was her lifelong dream to have a podcast. And so we started Deals with Heels. And then a year after that, she ended up having to drop out, and I took over as solo host. And I put a studio in my house. We were in a full service studio before paying. And so now I've done one whole season as solo host and just launched into season 4. So I've come a long way in that little crunched up time of like taking that deep breath as a 50-something-year-old and just exhaling, I am not done. I'm not over. Here I come, everybody. Get ready. And that is pretty much what I've been doing this whole time. And I took the long way around for sure, but it has definitely been great. And I will tell you that a lot of people ask me, well, what if you would have just left your husband in 2013, the first time he gambled? Or what if you would have done this? Or what if, right? All of the what ifs.
Right.
What if I had done this? What if I hadn't done that? And you can spend a lot of time in regret, especially when you're in grief, right? If you're grieving, it can feel like you didn't do anything right. Why am I sitting here? No one's here. I've lost everybody and I'm all alone, and poor me, and sit in that place of why is this happening to me? And I will tell you that, and don't get me wrong, there's definitely some things that I'm not proud of that I did, and times where I was on my knees in tears in prayer and trying to just find my way out of this overwhelming emotion that I was feeling. And today I can tell you that I don't regret any of that. I'm grateful for it because I am more in my own skin today than I have been in 2 decades. And all of that brought me here. If one of those things didn't happen, I might not have made it here. And I like it here. I wouldn't change anything for I don't want it. I want to validate and live my life in authenticity, and all of that. It happened. It was real. The good, the bad, the ugly, the happy, the joy, every ounce of it made me who I am today. I can't regret any of that. All I can do is be grateful.
Love
So,
that. Love that. I heard that in one of your episodes. I think the astrology episode.
mhm.
Yeah, I heard you say that. I don't waste my time regretting anything.
No,
That was
I don't get
very
me.
strong.
I wasted a lot of time regretting stuff before,
Yeah.
though I spent my time doing that, but not now. I wouldn't
Yeah.
change anything, even the crap I did that I'm not proud of.
Sure. Well, all that stuff makes us who we are.
It does,
You know, it really does.
and when you're sitting in a place that you're not happy with where you are, then it's really, really damn difficult to be grateful for the shit that took you there, right? I can't.
Right.
That's not the place that you find this peace that I have.
Yeah.
That's where you begin the work,
Yeah.
figuring out how you got there and learning that lesson, understanding it so you don't have to learn it again. That's what got me to this place. I sure didn't feel it when I was in the midst of it. I had all kinds of feelings of regret, and no one is harder on us than ourselves.
Right.
No
I,
one.
I
No
love that
one's
you
harder on
share
us than
that.
ourselves.
I love that you share that, on your podcast too. I mean, you get vulnerable, very often on your podcast, but there's always this sort of quiet underlying strength underneath all of it that you're talking about, where you can tell you got punched really hard right in the face, and it's I'm still here, everybody. So guess what? Move along. Nothing to see here. Next up, and that's really admirable. I mean, it's incredible what you've done.
Thank you so much. I really did it a lot by myself. I had supportive friends, but
So,
no one can solve those questions for you,
right.
right? No one knows why you made the choices that you made. No one knows why you did the things in your childhood that you did, or what happened to you in your childhood that caused you to go into fight or flight, right? So one of the things that my counselor, Fred, he he really one of the things that by far I learned in counseling that has helped me the most. I was in one day and I was really going off, being hard on myself because I had been procrastinating. I think that's a familiar message. I know all the podcasters out there procrastinate, posting all of their reels and all of their stuff. So this was a different kind of a feeling, but I was talking about I can't get my list done. There's nothing on it that I'm not capable of doing. I'm just being lazy. I was being so hard on myself that I couldn't be disciplined and pull myself out of it. And Fred let me go on for probably 10 minutes because I was venting. I was really letting it out that I need to fix my procrastination. I don't understand. I try to talk myself through it. I just, for whatever reason, I can't do it. And he said, Debra, you're not procrastinating. And I said, yes, I am. You're not listening to me, right? I just told you all the ways that I'm procrastinating. I listed all of it. I'm obviously procrastinating. And he said, no, you're in fight or flight. You're the deer. You're the deer. You're standing in the headlights and you literally can't move. I literally couldn't do it. I wasn't procrastinating. If there was one thing on my list that triggered me to go into fight or flight, I couldn't do anything on the damn list. And eventually I would get to the point where, right, you're in crisis mode and you have to do it. And I would Hulk smash it. That's what my term was for I'm going to Hulk smash
Yep.
this and get it done. And so that is kind of how I lived a lot of my life because I didn't realize that, oh, I'm just procrastinating. And eventually you have to do it. You have to be able to do it in crisis, which is never good. And so he was very kind, of course, and explained that, fight or flight's really important to us as a species. It saves us. It makes us able to deal with difficult, dangerous situations. It's not appropriate for us to be in it because something reminds us of when we got in trouble when we were in elementary school or of a time when we did poorly or whatever the reason. And I never identified the reason I was in fight or flight. I couldn't tell specifically what it was, but I can now identify when I'm in it. And he gave me a grounding exercise that will snap me immediately out of it and I can do whatever I need to do. And it's called 5 4 3 2 1. It takes you through your senses. You do 5 things I can see, 4 things I can hear. If you Google it, I'm sure it's in there. It will pull somebody out of a delusion if they're delusional, if you can get them to do it, because it grounds you to the here and now. And I'm in a safe place. I'm not somewhere where I need to be in fight or flight. Now, if you're not in a safe place, if you're in an abusive relationship, if you're in a place that you haven't escaped from, I don't know
Yeah.
that it'll pull you out of that, right? If you're legitimately in fight or flight, I don't know that that grounding exercise is going to pull you out. But it changed my life to realize I'm not just screwing around and not doing what I'm supposed to be doing. Most of the time I'm not I mean, we all have those moments. I'm not saying procrastination isn't real or that I don't do it because like everyone, I have my moments where I do, but this was different.
Yeah.
This was it so I can tell now and I don't go into fight or flight as often, but I can tell when I'm doing it and it made huge differences in my life because I didn't even think about that I was the deer sitting there frozen in the road. I always felt like I'm going to fight, right? I didn't ever think that I would just be sitting there. And I honestly think I was in fight or flight, maybe functional freeze for about a decade. I do. Off and
Yeah.
on, I knew something wasn't right. I knew something wasn't right in my life, but I could not make a decision to change it. I couldn't make that choice.
Yeah.
And I would justify to myself that maybe, well, you must like it. This must be what you're supposed to do because you can't choose to stop. You're choosing to stay. And that's how I kind of was stuck in this situation. And so, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's if you're in that, and I think a lot of us get in that point because we don't deal with all of our emotions as they happen to us. We definitely, if you're Gen X like me, Oh, there was no talking about problems. Walk that
Nope.
off,
That's right.
right? I mean, that all the things you hear about Gen X is true, you guys. If you're out there listening, they kicked us out of the house. I grew up in a very small town in Oklahoma, and my experience is the same with people everywhere. Our parents just go out, have a good time out in the sun
Yeah.
all day long, standing outside. Are they going to let us come into Todd's house to use the bathroom, or do I have to
Right.
run home? And I don't want to go home. They might make me stay home if I go home. That whole, if you come in, you got to stay in.
Right.
That one.
Make it home
So,
alive was all they cared about. Just get
right.
home
The street,
alive. That's it.
no questions about what we did, where we were, what we were doing. So
Yeah.
I think that a lot of us that grew up during that time, one, we didn't process any emotions. We held all of that in, and so now things that remind us of that, we go into functional freeze.
Yeah.
I definitely did, and I feel so much better now that I can pull myself out of it, but I had no idea, and I was
Yeah.
so hard on myself about not being able to do what I needed to do, and the whole time I couldn't do it because of fight or flight. And anyway, you can't get stuck in that bubble of questioning and being hard on yourself. It gets you nowhere. Um, you have to be able to motivate yourself by goodness.
Yeah. It's funny because I think most of our generation is probably in fight or flight and has been for decades. We just never really knew what to call it until recently,
I
you know.
agree.
Yeah.
And another word that I didn't realize I needed in my vocabulary to use to describe myself was overstimulated. If
Mm.
I'm in an environment with a lot of going on around me, I I start like, I got to get out of here. I got to. This is. I don't feel right, and it's. Oh, I'm overstimulated. I have ADHD, and I can get really. The music's loud and the TV's on, and these people are talking, and someone's asking me a question, and I can get really overstimulated. And having a granddaughter that gets overstimulated really helped me understand that, wow, I'm doing that too. And I can step back from a situation and say, okay, I'm going to take a step outside, and I'm overstimulated by this environment that I'm in. Not that the environment's bad, it's just how I'm responding to it.
Yeah.
A lot of time we push it off on what's happening around us and blame that. And it doesn't have anything, none of the things that were happening were wrong. I was just overstimulated by it, and I needed to make an adjustment. Now, sometimes it's I need to turn the music down or I need to shut this off. But if I'm in an environment I'm not in control of, then I got to step away and center myself again and come back in. So we just weren't taught to have any of that self care when we were growing up. Self care was walk it off.
Oh yeah.
Oh, you're hurt? Walk it off. Dry it
Yeah.
up. I'll
Rub some
give you
dirt in
something
it.
to cry
Yeah.
about. You'll feel better.
Exactly.
And that might have been good. Putting dirt in it might have actually been good for it.
It's all we had. So you bring up so many interesting points. I think that's when you talked about starting over in your 50s. I've heard that from a lot of folks who are in our generation, and a lot of us have found ourselves in our late 40s, early 50s, having to just sort of reinvent ourselves and say, all right, that part of life's over. Now what? And it's just not that easy to do, but you managed to take it head on and start a company and everything else. I mean, I applaud the living daylights out of what you've done. I really do. It's incredible what you've done.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. Sometimes when you're in the midst of doing it, you kind of lose appreciation for it. When
Right.
you're the one doing it and you're just in it and doing it, it feels so normal. Sometimes you don't realize what you're doing is amazing until you hear somebody else say it. That's why it's important to tell people when you see them. You don't realize the conversations that seem trivial or just seem normal, just day to day. You don't realize the impact that you have on someone else and on their life by having that conversation. And I have had people that I've known since childhood. I had one gentleman in particular who's a nurse and he's done great things with his life. And I grew up with him, and it's like a big brother to me, kind of. And he came up to me about 10 years ago and said, That conversation you had with me at that party at homecoming in Buffalo changed my life. And I'll have you know, I don't have any memory of that conversation. I have no idea what I said to him. I don't remember the conversation because it wasn't impactful for me. But what I said to him changed his life. And whether I knew it over all of that time or not, because I didn't, it didn't matter because it had that impact. So when you feel something like that, say it to them. Man, that's amazing. You're doing good things. Sometimes just being friendly to somebody that's not being friendly to you because they're having a bad day and granting that grace will change that person's day rather than absorb it and let it affect you.
Yeah.
Respond with goodness.
Yeah. No, I love that. It's with everything that you've put together. I mean, and again, it's impressive. The uh, Hexagon Media,
Mhm.
um, and then the podcast, of course, deals with heels. How do let me ask you a podcasting question, just because I
Okay.
could probably talk to you about us starting over in our 50s all day long. And
We
everybody,
definitely could.
everybody's probably like, okay, come on, tell me about the
We
podcast,
get it,
guys.
you
What do you,
old farts. Put
that's
it
right.
up.
You guys are old. I got it. It's awesome. In terms of that, how does the podcast work for you with your business? How do the two complement each other, and how do you utilize them both?
When we started the podcast, we weren't even thinking about business. We hadn't thought about it.
Yeah.
We just wanted to start it. We wanted to empower women that hadn't found their voice yet. Like it took me a long time to find my voice, a long time. Now that I've found it, I want to help other women find theirs as well. We have been told to sit over there and be quiet and smile our whole lives. Don't rock the boat, don't argue, don't disagree our whole lives. So now that I found my voice, I wanted to help other people as well. And so did Christina. She has a really great story too. So when we started it, we weren't thinking about business. We were just thinking about having a podcast. Well, it doesn't take very long of doing all that work till you think, gosh, it'd be great if I could make money doing this and I weren't doing it for free. If I could somehow generate income. And as all of you podcasters know, it takes a hell of a lot of content and likes and engagement and all of those things in order to m- monetize just for the content only, right? Just
Hmm.
for the views. Just you got so much that you're getting a paycheck, money every month just by posting your content because you're getting so much activity on it. It takes a while to build up to that. I have 75 episodes of my podcast, and some episodes do great, some don't. But until you get a little bit bigger, it doesn't generate on its own unless you've spent a ton of money promoting it and advertising. And we didn't put a budget together. We were just putting the podcast out. So it kind of evolved into that to where, okay, we are going to grow. We are eventually going to be able to monetize just for the sake of the podcast and with sponsors and all of the things that you get. But until then, how else can we monetize from it? And it's kind of funny. I'm a marketing expert and I didn't think about marketing at all when I started it. It was just this spontaneous universe putting us together to do it thing. So then as I started figuring out, okay, how am I going to do this? And we definitely talk about marketing a lot. We talk about a lot of sales and marketing content. So it makes sense to um, put a lead magnet of sorts together to drive content toward your business that you do make money on. And for me was my advertising agency.
Hmm.
So that is what I did was putting that in to drive traffic towards that advertising agency and monetize it that way and build clients that way so that it ties in. We do definitely have an entrepreneurial kick to it. All of the women that we have on as guests are entrepreneurs. They all have some entrepreneurial story to tell. Sometimes it's similar to mine. Sometimes they're really young and they're doing fantastic things. And it's so inspiring to see somebody that has gone through major things and has built this business and they're thriving in it and they're 31 years old. right? It's such an amazing thing. We
It
see a
is.
ton of that too.
Yeah.
So that part of it, tying it back into that business and then staying in contact with all of those, it's important. And for that purpose, it's really important to have a lead magnet, something that's going to make them reach out and contact you so that now they're on my list and I know what they responded to. So I know how to better communicate with them and see if there's a way that I can help them and do business with them. Or maybe it's just a connection and they're going to send business to me. Some of your best contacts that you'll make aren't people that are going to buy from you. They're people that have the same customers as you, right? They can refer business back and forth to you. If you
Mm.
can find that, that's the best connection that you can make. And oftentimes through podcasting, you can do it that way. I'll have a lot of marketing specialists. I've had a few email marketing specialists, which is very key for
Mhm.
podcasting. If you want to grow outside and work off of that lead magnet, that emailing is really important. So I have those guests on. And now I've got a contact that's better at that than me, and I can reach out for help. So I think using those connections is one of the biggest ways as a new podcaster you can grow your business and have revenue that's attached to it, because it's tough. You're out there hustling up your podcast, wanting to do it. I am so passionate. I love this. I love podcasting. I love guesting, but you have to be able to monetize it, because as fun as it is, we're not doing it for fun.
Right.
We're doing it for a reason. Sometimes that reason is we just want to get that message out and stimulate conversation, but it's time consuming and it's work. And so it's important to have a way that you can be compensated for it as well.
Sure.
I've also seen the model. I don't use it because my podcast wasn't designed this way, but a lot of people have guests on their podcast that are prospects.
Sure.
Not right. I get
Yep.
invited on LinkedIn lots of times to be, oh, we'd love for you to be in our executive roundtable. So if you look, I can look at it and I'm like, I'm the damn prospect in this roundtable, right? I'm the prospect. I know that I am. I'm not, I don't want to be sold. I often don't sign up for those if I know that I'm the prospect, but sometimes I do, because I will learn a lot about what they think I need to do. And it's still a great platform for you.
Yeah.
But a lot of people use it for that, and they have very successful podcasts because they're particular about their guests.
Hmm.
I often have to interview to get on because they want to know if I'm really a prospect. Is this somebody I could keep in contact with later?
Mm.
So I've seen those
Okay.
business models where I was a guest on that podcast too. And I think because I'm a marketing professional, I can see it when other people can't. I can see
Probably.
that. I
Yeah,
have a
probably.
gift of being able to see the forest, and when I'm playing in the trees, to see that big picture.
Right.
And so oftentimes, and I think that's amazing. I didn't think of it because I was just starting the podcast with my friend. I wish I'd have thought of it, but that is a great way too. If you're thinking of starting a podcast and you're wondering how, if you can incorporate it into what you're doing to make money already, and you can join that big conversation, I think that's great. I think it's great. I have a client, they have a very unique kind of business to business audience. And after I had been on a couple of those executive roundtables, oh, yeah, that is definitely a marketing tactic I recommend to specific people now. Because here's the key: if you have some prospects that are big in your industry, but you can't get in the door to sell them, to communicate, to connect, you're just to connect with them. You can't connect with them.
Yep.
Um, but you have an executive roundtable, you can have a topic that they're an expert in and invite them to be on your executive roundtable. Not with just you, there's like 4 or 5 people on there. So
Sure.
now you've got, they're definitely an expert in that field. So it's not like you're asking them to do something that they're not an expert in, but now you've connected. Now you have an open
Right.
conversation. Now you've had a conversation with them that lets them know how smart you are. You've had a conversation with them that lets you know that you're in their industry, you understand their industry, and that you value them, right? I value your time. You're so important that I want to include you. Your knowledge is a gift to my audience as well. So you've got them a little bit, right? Now you can connect with them and and have the conversation and see if you're really a fit, if they're a customer that's meant for you. But that's a great way to get in the door with somebody that's upper level. You can't connect with them, but man, they're like that whale of a prospect that you really want. It's a great way to open a line of dialogue, feeds into their ego, which we all love, and open up that line of communication that you could not even get in the door before. You sent a million LinkedIn emails to them and they never answered, or whatever it is, you just couldn't get past the gatekeeper in the door. It's a great way. And I've seen that a lot. I love that method for a specific targeted
Hmm.
audience also. So
I love that you just
fantastic
said
stuff.
all that. I just love that you just said all that. You just backed up. I've said that 4 or 5 times to, students of mine and
Mhm.
stuff. And now they've got somebody besides me who's on my podcast saying the exact same thing. That always helps. It always
It
helps
does.
when
It
you hear it from
does.
somebody else. But that's
Hey,
fantastic. Yeah.
in advertising, reach and frequency.
Hmm.
You're hitting that frequency.
Oh,
They're hearing
completely.
it multiple times. But I mean, it is the truth. So be creative with your podcast. Like how can I? It's not that the guests are coming on your show to sell something, right?
Of course.
They're
Absolutely.
promoting something, they're coming in, even if it's just their own podcast.
Hmm.
So if you listen to what they're saying and what they do, then there may be a connection there where you can help one another. And I do sales coaching, right? Had lots of salespeople under me. And so I do sales coaching as a team or individual, just depends on where in their sales funnel they're struggling, right? But I find that oftentimes people are nervous about that, right? They don't want to sell, they don't want to ask for the sell, they don't want to make those, but it's really about the connection that you make. And if you don't make the connection because you think they're not a prospect, you may miss out on referrals. Like the woman who was networking, she sold shampoo products, hair care products. A man came up to her wanting to have a one to one. And she goes, I considered not doing it. And this is terrible to say, but the man was bald. And I was thinking to myself, this guy's never going to buy anything from me. But I thought, well, maybe his wife, maybe his, and I'm here to make connections. So I'm going to meet with him anyway, right? His wife owns a chain of salons. I think she had 5 locations. He didn't tell anybody that. He just said he wanted to have a one-to-one with her,
Right.
right? And she almost didn't go because he did not look like a prospect for her products and services. But look what he had in his back pocket that she didn't know he had. So just meet, explore, have conversations. You will find your prospects are out there because what's meant for you is always for you. You just have to align to it. You can hustle and hustle and hustle and not do as well as if you just simply align your actions towards where you're supposed to be, right?
Mm.
Just align to it, have the conversations, and it will come. Do the actions that are appropriate, have the meetings, have the conversations, listen with curiosity. I'm
Nice.
curious, right? That was my
Nice.
goal for 2025 is to listen with curiosity as opposed to listen to respond or just to listen, even to be kind. Be curious. Who
Sure.
are they? What makes them tick? How? And somewhere in there, you'll find that connection.
Nice. This is hilarious for me sitting over here on the other side of this interview because, I mean, I feel like I'm looking at a female, much better looking version of myself, and I'm just like I say all these things. She's saying all the same stuff and I just love it because someone's going to get
Great
to hear it
minds.
from you and not from me, and I'm gonna be like, see, I told you,
I
right?
promise y'all we didn't plan it. We didn't get together and plan it ahead of time. You know why? Because we're podcasters and we're not that organized.
Yeah, no, I would love to say that that was some master plan, but let me just in terms of time and stuff. I love your story. Let me ask you a podcasting question, and
Okay.
it's kind of like my corny question that I like to ask everybody. So get ready. All right,
Okay.
strap yourself in. Here we go. It's as you do your podcast, what is it about doing your podcast that you love the most, and what is it about doing your podcast that you just absolutely hate the most?
I think what I love the most is is learning from all of the different people I talk to. One of my core values is lifelong learning. I am a serious nerd. If I didn't have a desire to look cute, I would have unmatching wrinkled clothes and a pocket protector. That's how nerdy that I am. And so really the people, the stories, the inspiration, I'm as inspired as my audience is when I'm hearing it. And I think that's the part I love the most is seeing all the greatness, all the things people have done and finding that inspiration myself and meeting them, hearing those stories. I love that personal connection more than anything. And what I hate the most, oh, it's definitely the tedium, right? The tedious things. It's not my strong suit. I'm a creative person. In fact, I had a couple of people that would talk to me about time blocking. You should just time block that. Well, the day you think you can block creativity is the day it will prove to you that you can't. I would love
Right.
to be able to. You know what? I'm going to make all of my advertising in these 2 hours. I put it in my calendar. I'm going to do it.
Right.
Well, I took an hour to just get inspired. I've made 4 of the 30 ads I needed to make, and my time's up. What am I going to do?
Right.
I'm moving into my next time block. I mean, it just doesn't work that way. And so the tedium part of me, it's difficult for me to do. That's the most difficult, uninspiring part of podcasting for me. And I know a lot of people live in that space. They love getting in all the nuts and bolts. I'm going to do this, but for me, that's the hardest part.
Yeah, I love that. Great answers. I love that you brought up time blocking. That's anybody who has a creative function and is trying to be creative in some capacity knows that you can't time block creativity. I'll be cooking dinner and go, why didn't I think of that? And I better have something to write it down on, like right now, or that idea's gone.
You
So,
know, I
you
think
know,
a part of so I'm very blessed. I can do very analytical, smart things. And I'm very creative, but I didn't step into my visual creativity until in my 50s. And so now I'm really dominated. I make all my own ads. I do all of the things. It's very empowering to be able to do all the creative things that I didn't realize I was capable of doing. So, but this part of me that's super analytical and businessy gets very frustrated with the creative part of me that needs to chill out and think about things and needs to do. And this person that's so hard on me that thrived in corporate America I mean, she's a very important part of me,
yeah,
that person. She can't be in charge. She can't be in charge anymore because she's not fun. We're in the fun land over here, but I can really trying to switch back and forth causes an incredible amount of anxiety. And one of the things that I currently struggle with is honoring my creative time. Because once you pop out of being in a creative zone, you can't always get back in it.
right.
And I will get popped out by something that's urgent for somebody else. And that is a codependency in business, right? I'm people
Mhm.
pleasing. I got rid of it in my personal life, but in business, I'll still do it sometimes. And it's a combination of one, people pleasing, that whole bad habit that we get into. I don't
Right.
want to make him mad. I'm going to try to accommodate, that whole accommodation thing. And the other part of it is scarcity mindset, fear of loss of opportunity. I'm going to do
Yeah.
this because I don't want to lose the opportunity. I fear it's a fear based. It's not good. It's not the best way to be. But I would pop out of it thinking, oh, I can just do this real quick without realizing the effect it has on my creative mindset that I'm in. So honoring that creative time. So what I found is that I will, I guess, hold that creativity back while I'm functioning on this other part of myself. And so when my creativity does come, it's kind of like vomiting. It's coming. There's no stopping it. It's one right after the other.
Yeah.
My friends will be like, let me get a pen. Let me get it. It's because I won't always remember it. And
Right.
so there is no, let me just stop and write this down and put it in my idea jar. Right? I can't, it's coming so fast.
Yeah.
I'm like purging it. It's one right after the other, different people, different businesses, different. It's not always my business. I had a meeting with a prospect and it's about their business. They're not even a client yet, but I've got all these ideas. And so oftentimes I'll send these audio messages to someone about whatever creative idea I had about their business, because it typically is about sometimes my business. And I send those messages to myself. So Christina, my former co-host, she will say, in fact, she said it in a few of the episodes, and we were talking about how my creativity works sometimes. And she's like, you don't want to miss it. Some of the best things we've ever done have come from a Debra purge session where it's just coming out. And she said, but I also don't want to talk to her about it at midnight when she has it. And so, because it's unpredictable, it's usually like when you're doing something routine that you finally calm down and stopped blocking it, or you're relaxed enough, then
Yeah.
like you're cooking dinner, being creative, or
Right.
but doing something that you can do without really thinking about it usually, then the memory and the ideas start coming. Well, I will just record and it'll just start coming in and I'll send it. So Christina was talking about um, if it's after 8 p.m. and Debra calls me, my phone will ring because she's not going to call me unless it's urgent. But if it's a text message or anything else, I don't even hear it because there's no rhyme or reason for when she might wake up out of bed with it and send me that real quick, because otherwise it'll be gone.
Yeah.
So we're having this discussion about how it works. And I was in a full service studio at the time, and our producer just starts laughing in the background. It's really odd for you to hear like the producer's audio to come in, and he just starts laughing. And Christina's like, what's so funny? And I said, Taylor got one of those messages from me at about 11:30 last night about his studio. I had this big creative idea. So I think it's important to let it out. I try to not bottle it up, but when it's coming and there's no stopping it. And so it's kind of a unique way, I think that, but I also think it's possibly because I'm not embracing my creativity on a daily basis like I should be. So
Yeah.
you hold in your emotions, and then
Sure.
when they finally bust loose, they just come out like that.
Yeah. The water
And
hose type thing. Yeah.
right, and it's like that, but it's ideas, it's creative ideas, and they're just flooding out one right after the other. And if I'm with somebody, they're like, "Okay, that's it. Okay." Like, "Okay, Deborah. Okay." Like, "Oh, here comes another. I got another idea." And it'll all like, if you know me, then you're like, "Okay, here it comes. Let me get a pen. I don't want to miss this or record it." But if you're not, you're like, "Okay, that was weird and intense."
Yeah.
And then I'll say, "Oh, I'm not done. Here comes some more."
Let me just say that I can absolutely see why you have a successful marketing practice right now. I mean, relating with people, not a problem. I don't see it. That's this is awesome. I love the story. I really do. You've accomplished a ton. Starting over in your 50s, and I know this firsthand. Sounds like an easy thing to do, is not. And so, again, kudos to you for everything that you've done there. The podcast is great. I listened to several episodes. I had a great time listening to it. Folks, you got to check out Deals with Heels. Okay, I'm telling you right now because it's got a very eclectic base of stuff. It's not just marketing stuff. I mean, there was an astrology one on there where, by the way, I'm not sure that you are a Scorpio. You might want to go back and listen to that one again.
I know. Well, Vedic astrology is from
That's right.
India and it's different. And she has me as a Libra. That
That's right.
was, she had her
She had
little
something else to
chart that,
say.
yeah, right.
That's right.
I was like, okay,
Yeah.
well, if that's what I am, look out, Libras, because it's coming.
That's what I mean. That's what you can expect on the podcast, folks. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff on this podcast. It's awesome.
And
Um,
since we're with podcasters, I can say the first few episodes, you can make a drinking game if you drink alcohol, right? If during the first few episodes, Christina says, you know,
no, that's just mean.
or I say, absolutely,
Mm.
then you drink. And don't be driving, folks, because I think in one episode, Christina says, like 23 times, right? We were rookies, and it's part of her vernacular. She hasn't had had not had at that time any public speaking training, and she was just talking, you know. So have a little fun in those first few episodes, guys.
Enjoy it. Right.
We
Refine
can't
your
laugh at
craft.
ourselves. What can we do?
Right. As we kind of wrap this up, and I could talk to you forever. I mean, you're incredible. Let me just kind of ask you what is normally our last question. 75 episodes is something. It really is. And so congrats on that too. You've passed a lot of the barriers and a lot of the milestones that people get tripped up on. So you're on your way to 100, which is awesome. I'll be rooting for you.
Thank
Um,
you.
as you do your podcast and as you think about everything that you've accomplished here, what's the best piece of advice you can give to podcasters who are out there who are just not quite where you are yet?
Stick with it. Keep going. You're there. The fact that you have started a podcast means that you have something to give. Your voice is important. As I went through my spiritual journey, which was a huge part of me becoming who I am, is figuring out how I work and how I fit in the universe. I really identify very well with a lot of ancient religions, very Kabbalistic kind of thinking. And it's very common sense to a certain extent, but Kabbalah says that if you have thought of it, then you've likely done it in another timeline. And if you started it and you're for like podcasting, then you have something to say, you have something to give, you have something to share, you have people to bring on. And maybe you're going to be the one person, you're going to bring that one guest on that shares something amazing that changes someone's life. So if you're doing it, if you're podcasting and you're thinking, what am I doing? I can't make this happen. How's this going to work? What can I do? Keep going. The fact that you started it means that you're meant to do it, that it's in your life. And it may not be something that you say or a message about your life that brings the impact. It may be someone that you bring on as a guest that says something to you that changes your life. But more likely than not, it's going to be something they say that changes someone else's life. So the fact that you're doing it means that you're important and that you should be doing it. So stick with it. Learn. Take courses if that's what it is. Learn to be better. Find a way to promote it. Be a guest. Guesting's a great way to promote it and to promote your own podcast and get your own message out there. But honor yourself. Be grateful. Be proud of yourself. What you have is a gift and you're giving it. Keep doing it. You're there for a reason.
Love
So
it.
honor that and own it. Stand in your own power. Let
Love
them
that.
hear your voice. That's my one advice.
That's awesome. That's absolutely wonderful advice, and not at all surprised to hear that advice coming from you. To be honest, I think that fits you great. So that's awesome, Deborah. You're amazing. Everything you've done is amazing. You got a great podcast. Debra Bowers, founder of Hexagon Media, host of Deals with Heels, where female entrepreneurs thrive, and successfully starting over your entire life after 50, which is more amazing than all that, frankly. Absolutely fantastic. It's been great meeting you. And thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so proud to be on your show. It's such a great show and it's so much bigger than mine. You've been doing it such a long time. Very grateful to have you. I hope that your audience learned something and I hope everyone has a fantastic day.
That's beautiful. Folks, that's been another awesome episode of the Podcaster Nation. The reason we get these fantastic podcasters on here to tell these great stories is because this is the podcast that is about podcasters, it's for podcasters, and it's done by podcasters. As we proved yet again today, this is the place where the rising tide truly raises all ships. So keep sailing.